Minneapolis and the greater Minnesota area prepare for the advent of the Chauvin trial as it gets ready to begin. Wait, didn't we do this a month ago? Well, it looks like right now they're making motions to try it one more time because, well, once you find out that one of your chief jurors isn't BLM, it sort of changes the whole thing. So we'll talk a bit about what's going on with that. Tim Scott's accuser, who called him an Oreo, submitted his resignation, but the Texas Democrats will not accept it, so we'll talk a bit about what's going on with that. Caitlyn Jenner releases her first California recall advertisement, so we'll watch that and we'll talk a bit about what's going on there. And on the cusp of Donald Trump releasing his new digital platform, Facebook is ready to bring him back on, and Twitter is not having it. So we'll talk a bit about what's going on there. Plus, we will end the day with something I'm thankful for. It's going to be all this and more. Hey, hey, hey. Do you trust the plan yet? I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Contemporary. My name is Jay Edgar, and oh my god, what a news cycle this is going to be. BLM is making demands. Chauvin might be put back up on trial. We're trying to decide whether we want Trump to have a digital platform or not. It's insanity. I don't even know which way is up and which way is down anymore. It's craziness what we're doing here. But We're going to cover it all. It's going to be all this and more over here on Contemporary, your favorite place to come back and have your morning coffee. So let's get right down into it. But before we even get started, and before we even do finance or selling the wares or anything else, I just wanted to bring this up here because this is what they've come to at this point. I mean, you look here, we've got the hashtag delete Facebook thing that's going on Twitter right now. So, and I highlighted two of them that were right in a row to make you think about exactly how broken some of these people are. Khashoggi's ghost tweets out, I don't know why on earth anyone is still on that hell site Facebook. But if you are, and they let the former guy back on because he can't be named, even he's like Voldemort because they can only read one book, I sure hope y'all will put your foot down and delete your accounts. If not, you're supporting the deliberate destruction of democracy. So, we're back to 1984 at this point, and the Donald is unpersoned. And even better, Scary Larry comes out, and his is Stomp the GOP, which means that he's got a whole lot of shit on the shelf, I promise you. Tweets out, the fact that Facebook is even considering reinstating ass-faces accounts tells you all you need to know about what a worthless, right-wing, evil platform it is, and how much of a weak, cowardly shitbag Mark Zuckerberg is. Yes, because when I think of Facebook, I think this is one step removed from the Daily Stormer. That's exactly what I think about Facebook. The site that has taken off most of the members of the Daily Stormer editorial board. The site who begs me for advertising dollars and then will not answer me when I say what happens with those dollars after you kick me off for wrongthink. Yes, that Facebook. It absolutely is. It's just one step removed from the Daily Stormer. They're the top end, far right, white supremacist, that kind of thing. So, yeah, I thought you guys would enjoy that one here. All right, let's get into the news of the day here. Before we get started, though, head on over, check out my friends over at the Freedom Scoop Media Group. Pardon our dust. We are still under construction right now, but that doesn't stop you from checking out my friends. You can go check out the Daily Ignoramus, The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, the R-Rated Conservative, The Freckles and Brit Show, and The Generational Gap. Go and check all of them out over there. Bookmark our page, because once we get started, we will get back up and going, and we will have ways for you to directly support our creators, which I'm definitely looking forward to. These guys work their asses off, and I do want to see them start to get some money pouring in as well. And by the way, you can go check out my stuff too. You can hit the subscribe star, hit the PayPal. You can go support me as well. Or there's the Buy Me a Coffee link that's floating around in the chat as you go along. But yeah, definitely come and hang out with us over there. Go check out my friends, and make sure you go and help us support great creators. All right, looking in at the finance for the morning here. We have got the Dow Jones is sitting at 34,133.03. That is up just under a 20th, or just a little bit over rather, a 20th of a percent over yesterday's close. 19.8 points was all that went up. It spent most of the day down, but just kind of pulled off that little bit of a squeaker in the end. So we will see what goes on with that. Your Bitcoin right now is at 55,154 US dollars and 60 US cents. Make sure that you guys go out and grab your Bitcoin. Note, this is not official financial advice, but if you can't hold it or mold it, you should be hanging on to it. That's what you should be doing with Bitcoin. Make sure you go out and check with your financial advisor and see if Bitcoin would be right for you. Fuel. Gasoline prices over in Madison, Wisconsin, still holding steady, $2.59. Oh, we just got a jump. Never mind. I was going to say $2.58, $2.59 was going to be it, but looks like I've got Woodman's on Gammon Road, Woodman's on Milwaukee Street, Woodman's on Sun Prairie, and Senex and Middleton all jumped over the 260 mark, 265 to 263. So, looks like we're going to see another spike in gas prices coming up here. Well, we'll watch that one as it goes. All right. Let's see what IBD has to say. Give that a second. It's thinking here. Dow Jones Futures. Janet Yellen walks back rate hike warning. Split market rally returns as Apple and Nvidia lead tech sell-off from Ed Carson. Dow Jones Futures and S&P 500 Futures rose modestly early Wednesday, while NASDAQ Futures climbed solidly. GM, Caesars Entertainment, and Rio Tinto were among notable pre-market winners. The stock market rally technically was mixed Tuesday, but tech stocks suffered significant losses. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen late Tuesday walked back earlier comments when she said interest rates may have to rise somewhat. The Nasdaq tumbled intraday Tuesday to its 50-day line, while Russell 2000 closed right at key level trillion-dollar stocks. Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, and Google parent Alphabet sold off, so did Nvidia and other chip names. ServiceNow, Adobe, and other software plays fell, as did Tesla and other EV makers. Okay, everything just reloaded. On the upside, there it is. Steel and mining stocks, such as Steel Dynamics, generally did well. Agricultural, transportation, housing, and retail groups generally held up, along with oil groups and financials, such as Goldman Sachs. The Dow Jones managed to eke out a gain. S&P 500 fell modestly, but held support at its 21-day exponential moving average, even with big cap techs like Apple stock dragging down the benchmark index. The stock market rally once again looks split, with tech and growth names looking weak while old economy names are doing well. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen conceded that the Federal Reserve may have to hike interest rates as the government unleashes further massive spending. It may be that interest rates will have to rise somewhat to make sure that our economy doesn't overheat, Yellen said at a Monday event that was aired Tuesday morning. After the stock market closed, Yellen tried to walk back her somewhat comment, at least somewhat. She said she's not predicting or recommending rate hikes. Yellen added that she's not concerned about inflation. Really? Because the rest of us are, because you do nothing but fucking print money left and right, and you do not have the economy to back it up right now. Yes, it's good that people are going back to work right now, but a lot of the jobs are not coming back, which means they're having to scrape by for whatever the fuck they can get. You don't have the economic chops right now to do this. Inflate the currency, or get the fuck out of the way. Because you don't have any other option in between the two right now. And I would prefer the latter, but you're the government, so I'm pretty sure you're going to do the former. The U.S. government has spent $5.3 trillion on COVID-related stimulus since March of 2020, including a $1.9 trillion package passed soon after President Biden took office. Thanks to heavy government spending and coronavirus vaccination, the U.S. economy is rapidly rebounding. No, it's not. No, it's not. Nearly eclipsing pre-pandemic peaks in the first quarter. Job growth is booming too. No, it's not booming. It's not rebounding. It's barely inching back to where the fuck it was. But the Biden admin is pushing for another $4 trillion in spending. President Biden has proposed funding those two packages with tax hikes on the top earners, including nearly doubling the capital gains tax rate, as well as corporate tax increases. Tax hikes are targeting corporations and capital gains, along with higher interest rates, would likely be negative for the stock market. Yellen ran the central bank before the current Fed chief Jerome Powell. Powell and current policymakers have signaled they want to see much more economic strength before even talking about curbing asset purchases, with rate hikes far down the road, but Yellen's comments raise expectations that taper talk could start the June Fed meeting. The June meeting will include new Fed rate hike projections. The mid-March meeting's projections didn't include Biden's latest two spending proposals. All right, on the pre-market. GM easily beat earnings views before the open, though revenue missed. The auto giant, like many others, said chip shortages will hurt quarter two production, but it reaffirmed full-year earnings guidance. GM stock rose 3% before the open, trying to regain its 50-day line. Caesars missed out on earnings and reported inline guidance, but the casino operators touted strong demand on the strip. Caesars jumped 7%. Not too far from a buy point, Penn National Gaming and DraftKings report later this week. Meanwhile, mining giant Rio Tinto rose 2% before the open, signaling a breakout from an 88.39 cup with handle base buy point. According to MarketSmith analysis, Dave Ryan highlighted Rio stock on Tuesday's IBD Live. That actually wouldn't be, with the infrastructure, a bad one to get into either, because they're going to need stuff. And they're going to want your help in getting stuff. So, Talk to your financial advisor once again, because this is not official financial advice, but that would not be a bad one to get into right now, especially if they keep pushing infrastructure. Adobe, Microsoft, Nvidia, ServiceNow, and Google are all on the IBD leaderboard. Adobe, ServiceNow, and Microsoft are IBD long-term leaders. Steel Dynamics and Goldman Sachs are on Swing Trader. Goldman Sachs and Tesla are on the IBD 50. Apple, Microsoft, and Goldman Sachs are on the Dow Jones Industrial Average. On the futures, Dow futures rose 0.25% versus fair value. S&P 500 futures climbed 0.45%. NASDAQ 100 futures advanced 0.8%. That's a lot. Remember, overnight action in Dow futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. All right, I got one from Reuters that I wanted to touch on real quick. Just talking a bit about what's going on in the crypto markets. Unless they're going to paywall me. That's weird. All my text just completely disappeared. And I don't know why. Let's refresh this and see what's good. My article disappeared. Okay, we're not going to read from Reuters on cryptocurrency. Never mind, let's get into the big news of the day. All right, starting with ABC News. Derek Chauvin's legal team requests new trial alleging jury misconduct. From Joshua Hoyos and Meredith Deliso. The legal team for the former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin, who was convicted for murdering George Floyd last month, has filed a motion in a Minneapolis court requesting a new trial on multiple grounds, including jury misconduct. In the filing, Chauvin's attorney says the former officer should have a new trial in the interests of justice, abuse of discretion that deprived the defendant of a fair trial, prosecutorial and jury misconduct, errors of law at trial, and a verdict that is contrary to law. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on here. Let's grab a little bit more of this. The jury committed misconduct, felt threatened or intimidated, felt race-based pressure during the proceedings, and or failed to adhere to instructions during deliberations. In violation of Mr. Chauvin's constitutional rights to due process and a fair trial, attorney Eric Nelson writes in the filing. Nelson also claims that the court failed to sequester the jury during the trial, which resulted in their exposure to prejudicial publicity regarding the trial during the proceedings, as well as jury intimidation and potential fear of retribution among jurors. Also, among the nearly dozen bases for the motion citing the filing, Nelson claims the court abused its discretion and violated Mr. Chauvin's rights under the Confrontation Clause when it failed to order Maurice Hall, a key witness, to testify or admit into evidence his statements to police. Hall was in the car with Floyd the day he died. Judge Peter Cahill quashed a subpoena for him to testify. The cumulative effect of the multiple errors in these proceedings deprived Mr. Chauvin of a fair trial in violation of his constitutional rights, writes Nelson, who is requesting a hearing to impeach the guilty verdict. John Stiles, Deputy Chief of Staff for Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison, said in a statement to ABC News, the court has already rejected many of these arguments and the state will vigorously oppose them because none of this has to do with getting justice. In fact, they don't want justice because they want to. If you become an enemy of the state in one way or another, if you don't toe their line, if you don't agree exactly with what they say, they want to be able to throw you in the clink for fucking ever in just a little show trial, and then throw somebody on the jury that's going to sit there and intimidate all the jurors to make sure that they get the right verdict off of this. So good, I'm goddamn glad that they're going to come out and do this. I really am. So let's go over a little bit of what's going on with this and why this is actually probably the best idea. First and foremost, what we talked about yesterday. You found a juror from a jury that wasn't sequestered, by the way. Keep that in mind. The jury was not sequestered. They were driving home through the St. Dante riots. Some of these people were. We heard the alternate juror. She was disappointed she didn't get to be on there because she didn't want to give this fucking guy the chair. And she is driving through these neighborhoods where they're protesting for St. Dante. You don't think that had an effect? Yes, I understand. We live under the commie fucking coof right now, which means that everybody can come in and be safe while they sit in the courtroom, but they can't stay overnight in the courtroom because we don't have the facilities for something like that. So they're driving home through the George Floyd Autonomous Zone, through the Dante Right, through all the rest of the protests in Minneapolis. No, those people should have, number one, this should not have happened in this county. There's no way you should have been doing this in this county, given the fact that they surrounded the courthouse. As far as I know, and forgive me if I forget my Minneapolis geography, but the George Floyd Autonomous Zone is like right outside the courthouse, if I remember correctly. It's been a while. Forgive me if I'm wrong. It's been a while since I've been up there. But yeah, as far as I know, that's like right outside of there. So there's that. And plus, like I mentioned yesterday, you've got the guy in the BLM t-shirt who was seen at the Martin Luther King Jr. Rally. You don't think that dude was out there? I seen all your faces, man. I'm gonna tell all my buddies where you live unless you give me the right verdict, okay? I know who you are. There's that. There's that angle to this that nobody's talking about off of this. And the other side that nobody's talking about, I've been listening to various pundits, including, I'm a lawyer, King. Okay, my wife's a doctor, I'm a lawyer. I've been listening to that fucking guy, and nobody's pointed out the fact that if you read the definitions, and we did it right on this program, second-degree manslaughter and third-degree murder, I'm sorry, I stuttered. I'm going to start sounding like Biden here. Second-degree man and third-degree murder are diametrically opposed to each other. You have intent to cause harm, and you have negligence that causes harm. Together. Intent and non-intent. You've been convicted of both. And the biggest worry for this, and I said this right at the beginning, right as soon as the jury came out, and even before I was talking about this here, this isn't, they say that this isn't Chauvin on trial, that this is the system on trial. And there's some merit to this, but not the way that they think. They think it's just, we're putting the police on trial. We're not putting Chauvin on trial. We're putting the entire police department on trial. No, that's not what's happening. That's not what you're doing. Here's what you're doing. You are putting on trial the ability for any of the rest of us to get a fair trial at this point. Because you know that this goes right down to Rittenhouse, because that's going to be the next big one that comes back out of this. That's definitely one that you have to pay attention to at this point. Because if the rioters know that they can slip somebody onto the jury, first and foremost, and then number two, go riot outside the courthouse, where people aren't going to be sequestered and are going to have to drive through every day, what do you think that does for a fair trial? And are any of the rest of us going to get a fair trial? Or, as I mentioned, is this going to be just a show trial so that the government can eliminate enemies of the state? So, we will see what's happening with this. Honestly, I hope they do this. As much as I don't want to sit back and cover this once again, and this is going to be another wall-to-wall national coverage, absolutely, as you know that it's going to be. You know that's what they're going to do. I would rather one guilty man go free than 100 guilty men go free than one innocent man have to suffer. So let's get a real trial coming back out of this. And that's what I have to say to that. All right, let's grab another one. This is changing. Why do we keep seeing this Changing America bullshit from The Hill? Just give me the article. Don't give me your fucking op-ed pieces, but let's see what we've got here. Activists warn police presence escalates tensions in protests over Andrew Brown killing. From Christian Spencer. Activists in Elizabeth City, North Carolina, are warning that the heavy police presence is daunting and may escalate tensions in protests that would otherwise be peaceful. Last Thursday, police forces, including ones out of state and provided by the Department of Homeland Security from neighboring cities showed up in a nonviolent protest in honor of Andrew Brown, a 42-year-old father of 7. Brown was shot and killed by a police officer attempting to serve a search and arrest warrant on April 21st, The Guardian reported. Wow. The Guardian is not green check verified, so it's kind of funny that The Hill is using them, and I'm not. In anticipation of the protest, Elizabeth City's State University, a historically black college, shut down its campus temporarily. The Guardian reported that the university used some of the dorms to house law enforcement. However, protesters say the police officer served little protection and actually could have caused more aggression. That sounds like a threat. Christy Puckett Williams, a statewide manager of the ACLU of North Carolina's Campaign for Smart Justice, was arrested for simply marching at a peaceful protest. Well, I'd love to see the arrest record for that because I bet you there's more to go along with than that. It's always an escalation when they show up and protest in riot gear, or to a protest rather in riot gear, Puckett Williams said. That's the level of contempt of and force of vitriol that they have, Puckett Williams, and others who were arrested were not charged with anything and were later released. According to Spectrum News in North Carolina, the city manager, Montre Freeman, said the cost of law enforcement cost about $25,000 per day. The amount of money and overtime they've had to spend out of their budget that could have been used in various ways to help the community, Williams said. That's why we have to reimagine what policing looks like. Elizabeth City Councilman Johnny Walton, who is the temporary mayor of the city, said the policing is justified because if your defense is stronger than your offense, you win the game. That's probably not the way you should have put that. There are going to be some missteps made, he said, but so far we have done everything in our lane that could make things happen and keep our citizens safe. So, yeah. Honestly, I don't blame the police for showing up in riot gear. Do you know why? Not that I really want police in riot gear patrolling a protest. I don't. But first and foremost, I know that if libertarians actually rise up at some point, the same people who are saying that they don't want the police in riot gear showing up at their protests are going to be demanding, in capital letters, demanding the police show up in all kinds of riot gear. They call every branch of the military. They call the Marines in to take down these people. Even if it's 7 libertarians with a sign, these same people are going to be demanding that every police officer in full riot gear with tanks and everything else show up to squash that protest. That's first and foremost. And number 2, we only go on statistics at this point. That's what the police are looking at, the threat vector. They're looking at what's going on around them. And all they have is statistics. And unfortunately for you, the statistics show that once you start having a peaceful protest, so-called, because a black man was shot by a police officer, under any circumstances, it doesn't matter what the circumstances are, under any circumstances, once you start to go up and peacefully protest, as soon as that fucking sun goes down, the Molotovs come out. I don't like it either. But all they have to go on is statistics right now. And statistically, once the sun goes down, they start using those fancy little bottles with the rag sticking out of them for light. So, you kind of made your own bet at that one. All right, let's keep going. Speaking of riots, from Fox News, most Portland riot suspects won't be prosecuted, U.S. Attorney reveals. From Dan Springer. Because of course they won't. David Bouchard admitted he put a Customs and Border Protection officer in a chokehold. Charles Comfort was indicted by a grand jury of civil disorder for twice charging at a Portland Police Bureau officers and hitting them with a makeshift shield, and then kicking a third officer while being arrested. Both men face federal charges stemming from their actions during a summer of more than 100 straight nights of often violent protests in Portland. But Bouchard and Comfort are among dozens of Portland federal arrestees whose cases were dismissed or are being deferred without so much as a day behind bars. Between May 25th and October 7th, the U.S. Attorney's Office in Oregon filed federal charges against 97 people connected to the Portland unrest. Since then, 58 of those cases have either been dismissed outright or are on track for dismissal through a deferred resolution agreement. 32 cases are still pending, with many likely to also end in dismissal. According to sources, 7 people have entered guilty pleas. Of those pleading guilty, only one person is headed to prison, and he was caught red-handed. Security video shows Edward Shinzing setting fire to the Justice Center with his shirt off and his name tattooed on his back. Don't get your name tattooed on yourself. Especially if you're going to commit civil unrest. A plea deal calls for Shinzing to serve a 5-year mandatory minimum sentence for arson. It's offensive to tell all the men and women who risked their lives in Portland for 90 to 120 days, or even longer in some cases, being attacked night after night after night, said Chad Wolf, the acting Secretary of Homeland Security under President Trump. Former federal prosecutor Alex Little says the Oregon U.S. Attorney's Office was the most likely overwhelmed. The prosecutors in that office, the number of prosecutors that support even the courthouse system, isn't really set up to handle those sorts of numbers, said Little. Lisa Hay, the federal public defender in Oregon, has a slightly different take on the high number of cases being dismissed. Really? I don't. I know exactly why it is. It's because Merrick Garland is the head of the DOJ right now. Merrick Garland's the AG, so, hey, you guys did a protest and did us a favor, because you made this look like Trump's America. Go scurry along. I think the federal government went overboard in some ways. Some of the ways they addressed these protests, said Hay. And what we're seeing now is many of the cases that were brought because the federal government's overreach are now being dismissed. Of the 31 deferred resolution agreements signed by the U.S. Attorney's Office of Portland, 19 were people charged with felonies, and most were for alleged assaults on the federal officers who were sent there to protect the courthouse and other federal buildings that were under attack nightly. Some DRAs were signed by Billy Williams, President Trump's appointed U.S. Attorney in Oregon. Others have been signed by Scott Aspaug, who has been the acting U.S. Attorney in Oregon since President Biden fired Williams, and other Trump appointees. Neither Williams nor Aspaug would comment for the report. Kevin Sona, Public Affairs Officer for the U.S. Attorney's Office in Oregon, issued a statement which read in part, "Dismissals are very case-specific and based on our assessment of available evidence. We do not believe that we can prove a charge beyond a reasonable doubt. We will dismiss the case." It's all political at this point. It is all political. And if you want evidence of that, go look at the Capitol Selfie Fest. That's all I have to say about that. Let's keep going. From the New York Post. Coca-Cola pauses aggressive diversity plan after chief lawyer resigns, from Will Fewer. Woke Coke has gone flat. Coca-Cola has paused its controversial diversity plan that included penalties on outside law firms if they failed to meet racial diversity quotas after intense backlash. The pause comes after the orchestrator of the plan, Coke's former general counsel Bradley Gayton, abruptly resigned last month after less than a year on the job, and as a criticism of the quotas mounted. Some questioned whether Gayton's policies violated Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which says that employers can't treat people differently based on their race. Well, that doesn't count for white people. Scott Leith, a spokesman for Coke, said Gayton's replacement, Monica Howard Douglas, is now reviewing the plan. When there is leadership change, it takes time for the new leader to review the current status of the team, organization, and initiatives, he said. Monica is fully committed to the notions of equity and diversity in the legal profession, and we fully expect that she will take the time necessary to thoughtfully review any plans going forward. In January, Gayton made headlines when he unveiled the plans to penalize outside law firms that failed to meet the new diversity quotas by slashing their fees or cutting ties with them altogether. Under the plan, any law firm seeking to do business with the company was required to commit at least 30% of billed time would be from diverse attorneys, and at least half of the time would be from black attorneys. That's racist. The hard truth is that our profession is not treating the issue of diversity and inclusion as a business imperative. Gayton wrote in January, unveiling the plan, "We have a crisis on our hands and we need to commit ourselves to specific actions that will accelerate the diversity of the legal profession." Well, my big thing with this is I don't give a flying fuck what color your skin is. I don't. If you are the best attorney for the job, and I know that we do have the people in the chat who are coming over from Steven's chat who believe that no women should be in positions of authority. I like my lawyer, and she has done very well for me over the past 20 years. I know she's getting a retirement age soon. I'm actually going to have to get a new lawyer at some point. But I like my lawyer. She is very, very much a pit bull in the courtroom, and she's shown that numerous times. She scares me, and I'm glad I'm paying her, because she scares the crap out of me. And I never want to be on the other side of prosecution coming from that woman, or a civil case for that matter. I don't care what your plumbing is, I don't care what color your skin is. If you are the best person for the job, I will hire you. If you are not, I will not. All right, so that's what we have going on there. I see people saying they're not getting notifications from YouTube for all this. Remember, we are on several other platforms as well, so I wouldn't recommend going to Trovo right now just because they also do the notification game. But if you look in the description below, you can also check out my Twitch, twitch.tv/jadgar101, and my DLive, dlive.tv/edsblog Twitter. You can go check those out. I'm going to branch out to a few more. You can also find my Facebook fan page is in the description, and we're also streaming to that. Or you can pick up my Instagram as well. Instagram.com/Jadgar102. You won't be able to see the news behind us, but you'll also see me there. I'm on all those platforms concurrently right now, so you can go check me out on any of the rest of those, and hopefully, I know DLive is a little bit more apt to give you a notification, and Twitch is too, so you can go check all those out. But yeah, Random Randy, looks like Quest couldn't find it either. A couple other people couldn't. So those are some other options too. And if you follow me on all those, then you'll also get notifications. So thank you guys. All right, let's keep going. From the Daily Wire, educators, students take day off to protest the existence of college police departments. From Chrissy Clark. On Monday, hundreds of educators and students nationwide participated in a day of refusal, wherein they refused to go to work or class to protest the presence of police on college campuses. According to Campus Reform, Stanford University professor David Palumbo-Liu went so far as to cancel his class. Palumbo-Liu also co-founded the Campus Anti-Fascist Antifa Network. Yeah, this guy's sure got a whole lot of shit on the shelf. The Day of Refusal was organized by the Cops Off Campus Coalition, a national network of students with the stated goal to get cops off campus and cops off the planet. Yet you don't mind when they're going after the Capitol Selfie Fest participants. Participants were asked to sign a petition which included a list of demands. And we'll be talking about a few more demands coming up here from another organization. Demands included eliminating all police off campuses nationwide, demanding the land back, and demanding that money be reallocated from policing to community safety and education. The petition reads, I pledge to absent myself from work, class, teaching, and more on Monday, May 3rd, 2021, as part of the National Day of Refusal to demand cops off campus. As a member of a campus community, I am horrified that amidst a global pandemic, relentless state and vigilante violence against black, brown, and indigenous people, and national calls for abolition, schools across North America have committed to increasing police budgets, college police forces are increasingly militarized, and I support the nationwide call to demand cops off our campus to make our university truly safe and free for all, and I will not cross the picket line. You're paying to be there. You're paying them money to not go. If you feel that strongly about it, drop out of school. Because otherwise you're paying them good money to not get a service back out of that campus. You fucking twidgets. What? Alright, and here's the other side of this. Now, yes, I had my run-ins with the campus police when I went to the University of Wisconsin. And the ones that were there were kind of douchebags. I had a guy that tried to write me a ticket because I hit a patch of ice. And I wasn't in four-wheel drive. And wound up 4 feet into the ditch. Not even half my truck. Okay, maybe a little more than half because it was only a single cab short bed S10. But a little bit more than half of my truck was off the road. The rear tires were still on the road. And he wanted to write me for vandalism because I was driving recklessly. The campus cops are kind of assholes. Usually because, well, this is how it works in Wisconsin. I don't know how it works in the rest of the country. But this is how it works in Wisconsin. The campus police are usually a division of the state police, and especially in a place like Parkside, it's usually the kids' table of the state patrol. I think in UW-Madison, they've actually got a little bit more esteemed police department, but it's usually the people who couldn't make it on highway patrol. But otherwise, yes, they're state patrol. They're Wisconsin State Patrol. They just slap University of Wisconsin, whatever campus, on the side of their car. But if you go to a private school, well, that'll depend on what the private school's regulations are. Carthage College didn't have a police force. They had red Jeeps with security and amber lights, but they didn't have a blue light permit. But even further still, you guys are paying to be there. You guys are absolutely 100% paying to not get a service back from your college, and you think this is a good idea. This, shit like this right here, is why I don't think that we should be nationalizing college. Nationalizing our college education and free college for all. But yeah, absolutely. And Randy's actually absolutely right on that too, on top of everything else. Imagine believing there's a culture of rape on college campus and also that no cops makes it safer. Yeah, there's that too. And I mean, furthermore, and once again, this differs from campus to campus because I know that the UW, the University of Wisconsin proper in Madison, is downtown, so it is close to the police station. But like in Kenosha, the University of Wisconsin Parkside is all the way up on the county line between Racine and Kenosha counties. And the police station is on 53rd Street. I'm sorry, 54th Street. The police station is on 54th Street, which means it is 48 blocks away from where the university campus is. What do you think that is for response time? Whereas the campus police, whether you like them or you hate them, are right across the street. So, there's that. But just, it blows my mind that these people are going to pay good money to these universities and not take advantage of their services. All right. Let's keep going. From the Blaze. Black Lives Matter issues a new list of demands, including a permanent Trump ban from political office and social media. And I have the full list of demands right here. But let's see quickly what Glenn Beck has to say about this. From Carlos Garcia. Activists of the Black Lives Matter movements issued a new list of demands, including a call for permanent ban of former President Trump from holding political office and from using social media. The new list of 7 demands was published on the Black Lives Matter website in an article that asked supporters to sign their name to the statement. The first demand called for Trump to be immediately convicted in the U.S. Senate. They also demanded to be banned from holding elected office in the future. Let's actually grab a little bit more of this here. A second demand called for more than half of Republicans to be expelled from Congress. A third demand, well, if they're just going to list them, let's actually just read them here. But yes, this is out here. Let's make the read. From blacklivesmatter.com, by the way, so directly from the mouth of the beast. BLM's 7 demands. 1. Convict and ban Trump from future political office. We're joining Representatives Ilhan Omar, Ayanna Pressley, Cori Bush, Jamal Bowman, and others who are demanding that Trump be immediately convicted in the U.S. Senate. You can't do that anymore. He's a private citizen, you fucking morons. Trump must also be banned from holding elected office in the future. Why? Bring him in front of grand jury. I'll talk about that in just a second. 2. Expel Republican members of Congress who attempted to overturn the election and incited a white supremacist attack. More than half the Republican representatives and multiple senators stoked Trump's conspiracy theories and encouraged the white supremacists to take action to overturn the election. You know, just like Democrats did when Trump was inaugurated. And encouraged the white supremacists to take action to overturn the election. We are supporting Representative Cori Bush's resolution to expel them from Congress for their dangerous and traitorous actions. We also support steps to bar them from seeking another office. 3. Launch a full investigation into the ties between white supremacy and the Capitol Police, law enforcement, and the military. The Capitol Police was able to be breached and overrun by white supremacists, attempting to disrupt a political process that was fundamental to our democracy. Blah, 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 blah. 4. Permanently ban Trump from all digital media platforms. That's against the First Amendment, which these people don't give a fuck about. 5. Defund the police. No. Too easy. 6. Don't let the coup be used as an excuse to crack down on our movement. In response to the coup, politicians have already introduced the Domestic Terrorism Prevention Act of 2021. We've seen this playbook before. These laws are used to target black and brown communities for heightened surveillance. Republicans are already busy trying to create an equivalence between the mob on January 6th and our Freedom Summer. No, there is no equivalence. You guys actually did physical damage to things. Billions of dollars worth of damage. And yes, there was damage done to the Capitol too, but not anywhere close to what we saw across the country. There are businesses that are never going to come back. Private businesses, private companies. You have vandalized, you have arsonized, you have burned down. What the fuck are they doing? I might have to go investigate that. Anyway, yeah, you guys went out and burned private businesses, private citizens' businesses. And yes, the Capitol Selfie Fest fucking idiots went out and they damaged property too, but for the most part it's government property. Which is also bad, but I have less of a problem with. All right, N7 passed the Breathe Act. The police were born out of slave patrols. No, they weren't. No, they weren't. The police were born out of English common law. We cannot reform an institution built on white supremacy. Anyway, these are the demands. I can't do this anymore. So, that's what they think this is going to be. A lot of this is just take from Whitey and give to us. So that's their demands. All right, let's keep going. All right, from the New York Post. White Texas Dem official who called GOP Senator Tim Scott an Oreo resigns. From Sam Chamberlain. The head of the Democratic Party in a Texas county resigned Tuesday after he described Senator Tim Scott as an Oreo, leading to an outcry among Republicans. All right, I gotta go see what that is. Hang on, you guys. I'll throw some music up for you, but I don't know what the hell they're banging on out there, but I don't like it. So apparently the city decided they needed to do road construction right while I was live. So, well, we'll get through that and we'll see. So let's go back to what we're talking about with Tim Scott over here. The head of the Democratic Party in a Texas county resigned Tuesday, days after he described Senator Tim Scott as an Oreo, leading to an outcry among Republicans. Now former Lamar County Democratic Party Chairman Gary O'Connor, who is white, told the Washington Examiner in a statement that he was deeply and sincerely sorry for using the racist term against Scott, one of 3 black senators and the only black Republican. It was insensitive, and I've embarrassed myself and my party by its use, O'Connor's statement read. O'Connor used the slur commonly used to describe a black person perceived of acting like a typical white person on his personal Facebook page after Scott delivered a formal Republican response to President Biden's address to a joint session of Congress. Which is all well and good. I think that was in horrible taste and poor taste, and he should be resigning. But, according to the Daily Wire, Texas Dem Party leader calls Tim Scott a racial slur, then resigns. Texas Dems won't accept his resignation. From Hank Berrien. On Tuesday, after Gary O'Connor, the chair of the Lamar County Democratic Party in Texas, had offered his resignation in the wake of blowback for calling Senator Scott an Oreo on Facebook, the Lamar County Democratic Party declared it would not accept his resignation. O'Connor had written, after Scott's rebuttal to President Biden's State of the Union speech, "I had hoped that Scott might show some common sense, but it seems clear that he's a little more than an Oreo with no real principles." According to Merriam-Webster, the term Oreo is a disparaging word that means a black person who adopts the characteristic mentality and behavior of a white middle-class society, the Urban Dictionary explains, is a derogatory term meaning black on the outside, white on the inside. The Lamar County Democratic Party told the Texas Tribune that they had used the last few days to reflect on the incident, adding, "Lamar County Democrats recommit ourselves to conduct our private conversations and our public social media discussions with anti-racist, pro-reconciling attitudes and language. We strongly condemn bigotry of any kind and will continue our historic efforts to work for justice and equality for all of our fellow citizens." In a statement to the Tribune, O'Connor added, to Senator Tim Scott, the residents of Lamar County, especially our black residents, and to my family and friends, I profoundly apologize for the racially insensitive remark I made towards Senator Scott last week. It was wrong, and I apologize. But it looks like they are not going to accept it. So, yeah, no repercussions. They don't dare do repercussions because they might lose a slim majority somewhere or other. Or even a minority. They might lose another seat. All right, I have got a very bizarre story that doesn't have anything to do with politics. I don't think. Maybe it does. But from the Chicago Sun-Times. Man bit off part of couple's ears during attack, according to prosecutors. From Madeline Kenny. A man attacked a couple in Fernwood over the weekend, biting off parts of their ears. And when officers arrested him, he allegedly told them the blood he was covered in was not his, but the blood of peasants. Cook County prosecutors said. After listening to the allegations against 28-year-old Elijah Rule Hill, Prince Monday, Judge John F. Lake Jr. said that he thought he was listening to a horror movie. Rule Hill Prince, who was undergoing a psychiatric exam at a hospital, was not present at his bond hearing on aggravated battery and attempted murder charges. Rule Hill Prince first attacked his male victim Saturday on the 10500 block of South Emerald Avenue after he tried selling the man something and the man refused the offer, prosecutors said. Rule Hill Prince allegedly put the man in a chokehold and then hit the man on the head with the shovel the man had been using to clean the alley behind his mother-in-law's home. Rule Hill Prince went on to punch the man in the face, gouge his eyes with his fingers, bite his ears and the top of his head before spitting in the man's mouth, the prosecutor said. At one point, Rule Hill Prince stuffed a 3-inch block, an object similar to a doorstep, into the victim's left eye, prosecutors said. Yeah, this guy sounds charming. Upon hearing the commotion, the man's wife ran outside and was allegedly attacked by Rule Hill Prince, who started by pulling her hair, gouging her eyes with his finger. He also bit her ears, ripping off large chunks and spitting on her, prosecutors said. After the woman fell to the ground, Rule Hill Prince allegedly kicked her head multiple times. Yeah, see, this is the kind of shit that a social worker would not be able to go and deal with. Because the social worker at that point would have his or her ears bitten, eyes gouged, and a 3-inch block shoved down her fucking throat. What a charmer. All right. From Axios, Kevin McCarthy trashes Cheney on hot mic. From Kadia Goba, House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy said Tuesday he's lost confidence in Cheney during a movement candor caught in a hot mic, a tape reviewed by Axios shows. He says, I think she's got real problems, McCarthy told Steve Doocy off air ahead of a Fox and Friends interview. I've had it with her. You know, I've lost confidence. Well, someone just has to bring emotion, but I assume that will probably take place. The comments made amid seemingly crosstalk with Doocy outlined how the House conference chair could be removed by a vote from the chamber's Republican members. McCarthy's comments contrasted from nearly 6 minutes on-air interview where he told Doocy he'd heard members concerned about Cheney's ability to carry out her job as a party leader. This is about whether the Republican Party is going to perpetuate lies about the 2020 election and attempt to whitewash what happened on January 6th. Cheney spokesperson Jeremy Adler said in response to McCarthy's aired Fox interview, Liz will not do that. That is the issue. So, that's what we have going on with that. Honestly, it's time for that woman to be gone anyway. She should have never been elected, but, you know, she went up to Wyoming to pick up some of that sweet, easy electioneering. You know, all I've got to do is win a primary and then I'm golden. That kind of bullshit. So, she's probably going to be there for a very, 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 very long time. Let's keep going. Got another one from The Blaze for you guys. After blowback from Democrats, Biden promises to raise refugee admission cap over 8 times the Trump-era limit. From Chris Enlow. President Biden announced Monday a 4-fold increase in annual U.S. refugee admissions this year, capitulating to liberal critics who had criticized Biden for not increasing the cap sooner. Biden took heavy fire from Democrats after he refused to increase the number of refugees in the U.S. would admit this year. In fact, Biden signed an order maintaining the limit of 15,000, which was established under former President Trump. Democrats accused Biden of breaking his campaign promise to significantly increase Trump-era refugee limits. Completely and utterly unacceptable, Biden promised to welcome immigrants and people who voted for him based on that promise. Biden promised a lot of stuff that people voted for him based on that he's not going to fucking do. When's student loan forgiveness going to happen, you guys? Because he promised that on day one. None of this. He's not going to do shit about this. Oh, yes. Okay, you pushed him and he raised the immigrant cap, which I'm sure that Senate Republicans need to challenge him on, because I'm sure they need to get involved in this. But completely and utterly unacceptable. Biden promised to welcome immigrants. People voted for him based on that promise, okay, puppy? Upholding the xenophobic and racist policies of the Trump admin, including the historically low and plummeted refugee cap, is flat out wrong. Keep your promise. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the Honorable and Venerable D. Twitch, said. So, well, that's one way to get the people back up out of the facilities, I guess. Let's keep going. I got one from ABC for you guys. Governor Whitmer among 7 awarded for courage by JFK Foundation. Comes to ABC News via the Associated Press. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer and 6 other people who risked their own health and safety to help... Oh my God, this is propaganda. This is fucking propaganda on top of propaganda. To help and protect others during the coronavirus pandemic will receive Profile and Courage Awards next month, the JFK Library Foundation announced on Tuesday. The recipients, who also include a grocery store owner, a delivery driver, a nurse, and an activist, were selected from among thousands of nominations submitted by people around the country, the foundation said in a statement. This award has no more meaning at this point, and it's completely fucking worthless. Today's honorees put their own lives at risk to keep others safe. They inspire us all with their courage and give new meaning to President Kennedy's legacy of public service. Said Carolyn Kennedy, the president's daughter and honorary president of the foundation. The award is named after Kennedy's 1957 Pulitzer Prize-winning book, Profiles in Courage, about 8 U.S. senators who risked their careers by taking principled stands for unpopular positions. These 7 recipients of the COVID-19 Courage Award will be honored along with U.S. Senator Mitt Romney during a virtual ceremony. Why the fuck is Romney nominated for this? All he did was capitulated to what Democrats wanted him to do. Oh, this is fucking disgusting. Romney has no courage. You can see what Romney, the level of Romney's courage, because this is what Mitt Romney does. Are you ready? Okay. That's politically convenient. I'll be safe if I do this and say this. And they won't try to burn down my millions of dollars of mansions. And they won't try to oust me from my seat. And I'll stay in Utah forever because it's Utah. That's what Mitt Romney does. He has no courage. He has no fucking spine. The fact that Romney is on this... Now, Whitmer's might makes right. So she is just, there's no courage there either. She gets into the highest office and then tells everybody else what it is that they need to do, while going off and doing the exact opposite. Hey, why don't you launch my boat? Because I'm the governor's husband. That kind of fucking bullshit. But Romney has absolutely zero spine whatsoever. You have officially cheapened the name of this award. It's not a courage award. It's a whoever's the most popular in the fucking media award. Fuck you. All right, let's keep going. Hang on. Gotta switch the live chat out here, because it looks like it's not showing up in the monitor. Caitlyn Jenner releases first California recall video saying it's time to reopen. From Tyler Olson. Caitlyn Jenner, the celebrity-turned-California Republican gubernatorial candidate, released her first video of the crowded recall campaign to replace Governor Gavin Newsom on Tuesday. The video highlights the American dream in mid-century California before blaming politicians for the state's decline. Let's have a listen.
Famed Olympic gold medalist Caitlyn Jenner is now entering a new race for the governor of California.
I've always been a dreamer.
California was once the envy of the world. We had what everyone else wanted. The American dream grew up here. Yet career politicians and their policies have destroyed that dream. It's been locked away, closed, shuttered, left in the dark, burned down. The government is now involved in every part of our lives. They've taken our money, our jobs, and our freedom. California needs a disruptor, a compassionate disruptor. I came here with a dream 48 years ago to be the greatest athlete in the world. Now I enter a different kind of race, arguably my most important one yet, to save California. I want to carry the torch for the parents who had to balance work and their child's education, for business owners who were forced to shut down, for pastors who were not able to be with their congregation, for the family who lost their home in a fire, for an entire generation of students who lost a year of education. This past year has redefined our career politicians as elitists, and the people of California as
I love the Pelosi book,
warriors,
by the way.
the kings and the angels. We never take kindly to glass ceilings here. Instead, we shatter them.
This one's way out there.
We're the trailblazers, the innovators. California is facing big hurdles. Now, we need leaders who are unafraid to leap to new heights,
He does not want to finish Reckoning this way. He wants the world record.
who are unafraid to challenge and to change the status quo.
I want to prove that it is absolutely possible if we only do it together.
California, it's time to reopen our schools, reopen our businesses, reopen the Golden Gates. So I don't care if you're a Republican, Democrat, I'm running to be governor for all Californians. To reclaim our true identity, to bring back the gold to the Golden State.
What a tremendous victory.
Now is the time to achieve that summit, to be the shining city on the hill, and together we'll restore and renew the California dream.
Generous driving.
It's about what happens from here. It's not just about one person. It's about all of us.
Well, I mean, not wrong. I know there's going to be a lot of backlash for the celebrity that goes into this. And you guys know it as well as I do. There's going to be a lot of celebrity criticism for this. But, once again, the big part for me and the big hurdle for me, and I would throw my support. If Jenner actually went through with that message and was able to implement it, Jenner would have my full support. But just like I called out for Dr. Jorgensen, I need to see the plan to get this through a hurdle of opposition that you're going to face. Because the ideas are not popular with the power-hungry legislature that's also comprised of career politicians. So I do need to see that as well. But, I mean, it's a good message. It absolutely is. So we'll see what happens with that. All right, from the Associated Press. Biden aims to vaccinate 70% of American adults by July 4th. From Zeke Miller and Jonathan Lemire. President Biden on Tuesday set a new vaccination goal to deliver at least one shot to 70% of adult Americans by July 4th as he tackles the vexing problem of winning over the doubters and those unmotivated to get inoculated. Are you guys ready to go get your vaccination? I know Ron is. Somebody go down and get Ron a ride to the nearest vaccination site because, Biden wants him to get vaccinated too. At least one shot by July 4th. Aren't we almost there too, 70%? Even for those of us who don't want to get it. I think they're still already pushing, they're knocking on the door to that. Demand for vaccines has dropped off markedly nationwide, with some states leaving more than half their available doses unordered. Aiming to make it easier to get shots, Biden called for states to make vaccines available on a walk-in basis, and he will direct many pharmacies to do likewise. His administration, for the first time, also is moving to ship doses from states with weaker demand to areas with stronger interest in the shots. You don't need to get vaccinated, Biden said from the White House. Even if your chances of getting seriously ill is low, why take the risk? It could save your life or the lives of someone you love. Yeah, that's that whole thing of, I'm doing it for someone else. It's bullshit too, because you're not. You're doing it for virtue points at this point, because a lot of the people who got the vaccine already had the disease. So I don't even know what the point is of running out to get it, but apparently there's a point. Biden's goal equates to delivering at least the first shot to 181 million adults and fully vaccinated 160 million. It's a tacit acknowledgement of the declining interest in shots. Already more than 56% of American adults have received at least one dose of the commie-fucking-coof vaccine, and nearly 105 million are fully vaccinated. The U.S. is currently administering the first doses at a rate of 965,000 per day, half the rate of 3 weeks ago, but almost twice as fast as needed to meet Biden's target. I'd like to get to 100%, but I think realistically, we can get to that place between now and July 4th. You're not going to get to 100%. I'm sorry. That's not going to happen. People are still free as much as you want to be a tyrant to them. He said the admin would focus on 3 areas as it tries to ramp up the pace of vaccinations. Adults who need more convincing to take the vaccine, those who have struggled or are in no hurry to obtain a shot, adolescents aged 12 to 15 once federal authorities approve vaccination for that age group. Acknowledging that the pace of vaccination is slowing, Biden predicted the inoculation effort is harder when it comes to convincing doubters of their needs to get shots. Well, I said this on Brit's poll the other day. Yesterday, it was just yesterday. I said this on Brit's poll about vaccine passports. I was actually, and everybody here can attest to this, by the way, because you all saw me say it. When they first talked about getting the vaccine, I said, cool, I'll look into this. I'm kind of excited about this. The free market is working. They're getting the government out of the way, and they're bringing something to the market in a hell of a hurry that the FDA doesn't have to run and jump through 1,000 fucking hoops to get to. Then they said that M word. Mandatory. And even though it's not mandatory at this point, they started talking about ways that they can make it mandatory. The passport. Denying you from going to certain businesses, denying you from going to schools, denying you from going to concerts. Once they started saying the M word, I lost complete and total interest for this. Because good ideas are rarely mandatory. Good ideas are almost never mandatory. So, that's what they have to say there. From the New York Post. This town used its $228,000 in COVID relief funds on a giant squid statue. Release the Kraken. From Hannah Sparks. Money well spent. A coastal town in Japan has dropped a reported 25 million yen, about $228,000, on a massive of a pink squid using money designated for coronavirus pandemic relief. Officials in Noto claim that their investment in the behemoth cephalopod, which measures 42 feet long, 30 feet wide, and 13 feet high, Kotaku reported on Monday, will help drum up tourism in the cash-strapped fishing town, which is located on the Ishikawa prefecture on Japan's central western coast. There you go. There's your COVID relief money. And look at it. Those of you on the audio platform can't see this, but look at it. It just screams COVID relief, doesn't it? All right, let's keep going. From Click to Houston. H-Town bound, rapper 50 Cent says he's now living in Houston. 50 Cent just joined a list of celebrities who now reside in the Bayou City. The rapper, whose name is Curtis Jackson III, made the announcement on his social media platforms with a photo of him wearing a Houston Astros hat while standing in front of the city's legendary Astrodome. The New York native was welcomed by Houston rapper Paul Wall on his Instagram post saying, "I got you a slab ready and waiting for you. Where are you at? I'll drop it off for you." Houstonians also welcomed 50 on his social media post. So if you'll remember, 50 Cent went out last year and pointed out how fucking shitty the tax situation was in New York and how he hated the taxes going off there. And he did what all people who hate the taxes should do. He went and moved to a place with lower taxes. Now, of course, he went to Houston, which is one of the liberal strongholds in Texas, but still, don't go to Texas and vote the same way you voted in New York, because otherwise you're going to wind up at the same fucking bullshit again, except with hotter weather. So, there's that. From the Hill. From the Hill, Trump launches new communications tool after social media ban. From Tal Axelrod. Former President Trump has rolled out a new tool to communicate with his supporters in lieu of platforms such as Twitter and Facebook, which banned his accounts. Trump's platform, From the Desk of Donald J. Trump, features videos from the former president and statements from his leadership pack, which have been sent out over emails for several weeks. Supporters can sign up to get notified when Trump sends out a message from his site, similar to functions on other social media platforms. While users do not have the ability to reply to Trump's posts, they can like them and share them on their own Twitter or Facebook accounts, until Twitter and Facebook ban them for malicious content, like they do with BitChute links, by the way. This is just a one-way communication, one source familiar with the space told Fox News, which was the first to report on the platform. The system allows Trump to communicate with his followers. Yeah, no, this is not what we were promised. This is another failed promise coming from the Trump administration, of which he had many. He succeeded in a few things. He failed in a lot of things. And yeah, that's all it's going to be. It's an email list. That's all it is. Blah de blah. Don't give a fuck. All right. But speaking of him and social media, well, it looks like we've got one from NPR here for you guys. NPR writes, reinstate Trump? Facebook Oversight Board set to rule on indefinite ban. This is from Rachel Martin and Jason Breslow, and also from Shannon Bond. All three of these people, Rachel and Jason and Shannon, need more money so they can get more quiet microphones and help to spread the ideas of progressivism and communism throughout the world. Won't you give them a little bit of money? Look at that donate link up at the top. Won't you give NPR a little bit of money, you guys? They need your money because the taxpayer money's not enough for them. Please help them out. Please, they're desperate. All right, let's see what these three people have to say. Facebook's Independent Oversight Board on Wednesday is expected to announce its biggest decision yet, whether to uphold or reverse Facebook's indefinite ban on former President Trump. The decision to ban Trump from both Facebook and Instagram, which the company owns, came after the January 6th selfie fest on the U.S. Capitol. But it was precipitated by the months that Trump spent on social media, both amplifying disinformation and casting doubt on his laws. Fucking propaganda. It's all propaganda at this point. We believe the risks of allowing the president to continue to use our services during this period are simply too great. Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg wrote at the time, "We believe we took the right decision. We think it was entirely justified by the unprecedented circumstances on that day." The company's vice president for global affairs and communications, Nick Clegg, later told NPR. And yet, both Zuckerberg, fuck you. I'm not funding your future. And yet, both Zuckerberg and Clegg have expressed concerns about how any one company having so much power over online speech, especially when it comes to whether or not an elected leader can reach the social network's billions of users, which is why Facebook has asked the board to weigh in. Facebook created the Oversight Board a year ago to make final calls on most difficult decisions on the social media network makes about what users can post. Each case is decided by 5 members of the 20-person board. They consider Facebook's rules and international human rights principles and seek out the views of outside experts and members of the public. In the Trump case, the board received more than 9,000 public comments. The final decision must be approved by the majority of the full board, and Facebook has agreed to abide by its ruling. The Trump case is the biggest test so far of the board's legitimacy, whether it's seen as an independent from the company that created it and funds it, or whether it's seen as a cover to let Facebook duck responsibility. Well, here's reality. Why don't you just let Facebook do whatever the fuck it wants to do? But we saw it at the top of the show. All these little bitches complaining about them. Well, they're going to put Trump on, and you have to delete your Facebook account if they're going to put Trump back on. You have to. If they put him back on, it's going to prove that they're a far-right website. They're a far-right hellscape. Yes, because, and as I said at the top of the show, that's exactly what I see when I see Facebook. It's a step away from the Daily fucking Stormer. Fuck you all. If they want him on, they will. If they don't, they'll go eat a fucking Hot Pocket. But this is all just pure propaganda once again. All right, let's talk about Lubbock. I got a couple articles on that. Then we'll do FBI and FISA and FBI CIA, and we'll head on out of here. From ABC 13, Lubbock votes to become the state's largest sanctuary city for the unborn. From Shannon Najmabadi. Lubbock voters on Saturday backed a sanctuary city for the unborn ordinance that tries to outlaw abortions in the city limits, likely prompting a lawsuit over what opponents say is an unconstitutional ban on the procedure. The unofficial vote, 62% for and 38% against the measure, comes less than a year after Planned Parenthood opened a clinic in Lubbock and months after the city council rejected the ordinance on legal grounds and warned that it could tee up a costly court fight. The passage of the ordinance makes Lubbock one of some of 2 dozen cities that have declared themselves a sanctuary for the unborn and tried to prohibit abortions from being performed locally, but none of the cities in the movement, which started in the East Texas town of Wascom in 2019, has been as big as Lubbock, and none of them have been home to an abortion provider. It's unclear what the ordinance will go into effect and if it will be challenged in court. Well, this is going to be it. This is going to be federalism right then and there. And here is the problem. These providers want to do this, and they want to do it left and right. Go to another city. It's like the fucking cake. Go to another baker. But you specifically target this specific baker so you can come up and drum up another court case. If Lubbock doesn't want to have an abortion clinic in Lubbock, then go to fucking Dallas. Plain and simple. But the ACLU already got involved in this. From CNN. ACLU sues 7 sanctuary cities for the unborn for violating abortion rights groups' free speech. From Carolyn Kelly and Karma Hassan. The ACLU filed a lawsuit on Tuesday against 7 towns in Texas that have declared themselves sanctuary cities for the unborn, a recent trend among some conservative towns dissatisfied with state abortion policies. The group filed the challenge on behalf of the Texas Equal Access Fund and the Lilith Fund, 2 abortion rights groups, among those that the city's ordinances deem criminal organizations and ban from offering services, renting or buying property, or having a presence in the cities. While the battle over abortion rights has largely played out at a state level, a group's challenge points to federal law that they claim still applies to localities looking to advocate for abortion positions that run counter to it, or, in other cases, extend beyond those of their states. While the ordinance claims to outlaw abortion, the procedure remains legal in Texas, and the ordinance state that they cannot take effect as long as Roe versus Wade. The landmark Supreme Court case legalizing abortion nationwide, no it didn't by the way, still stands, but the abortion rights groups argue that the town's ordinances violate their constitutional right to free expression, hinders them from doing their work, and judges them as criminals without ever affording them a trial. Well, they should be afforded a trial, but no, Roe versus Wade has never legalized abortion. It legalizes a right to privacy between you and your medical professional, and even there, I still think that was wrongly decided. Roe versus Wade can't legalize anything because it's a Supreme Court decision. In order to legalize something, you would have to go through the legislature. However, and this is the last part of this, and then we'll go do these last couple ones quick, and do something I'm thankful for and head on out of here from the Longview News Journal. ACLU withdraws sanctuary cities for unborn lawsuit after cities amend ordinances. From Ben Fenton. The ACLU has withdrawn its lawsuit against 7 cities in Texas that had enacted ordinances outlawing abortion within city limits. The cities each have also proclaimed themselves a sanctuary city for the unborn, joining a movement spreading across the state. The ACLU announced February 25th it had filed a lawsuit on behalf of the Lilith Fund and the Texas Equal Access Fund to challenge abortion ban ordinances passed in 7 East Texas cities. Named in the lawsuit were Wascom, Naples, Joaquin, Tanaja, Rusk, Gary, and Wells. The lawsuit was dropped on Tuesday. The ACLU's decision to withdraw its suit comes after those cities amended the ordinances. The lawsuit noted that both groups are labeled criminal entities. Under the abortion ordinance, it accused the ordinances of being unconstitutional and violating the abortion fund's rights to free expression and association under the First Amendment. The cities amended the ordinances by decriminalizing the organizations and in the language used. However, the ordinances maintain prohibition on abortion within the city limits, which they should. And that's how this is all supposed to work. If you don't like the ordinances in one city, you go to the next city. If you don't like the ordinances in a state, you go to the next state. This was never supposed to be a federal top-down country. And yet, we see more federalized police, federalized decisions, Roe versus Wade, court decisions that affect all of us, legislation that affects all of us, and the entire federalist system is being torn apart. And I love federalism. And I absolutely love federalism. All right. Let's keep going. I got just a couple more, then we'll do something I'm thankful for and head out of here for the day. And if you guys are just lurking right now, make sure you get those last minute messages in so that I can thank you guys kindly for coming and participating in the chat for the day. You guys all rock. Let's finish up. From the New York Post, GOP reps want FBI director to explain FISA warrant violations. From Mark Moore. 2 House Republicans are demanding answers from FBI Director Chris Wray in the wake of the nation's secretive FISA surveillance court, citing widespread violations by the FBI in monitoring American citizens. Jim Jordan and Andy Biggs wrote to Wray to explain the FBI's illegal spying activities after a ruling made by James Boasberg, the presiding judge of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, last November. It was declassified last week by the Office of the Director of the National Intelligence, Fox News reported. The 2 GOP congressmen said the ruling from the court that oversees the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act revealed the FBI has been seriously and systemically abusing its warrantless electronic surveillance authority. The ruling said the FBI violated the privacy rights of Americans in conducting surveillance under FISA's Section 702, which allows the Attorney General and the Director of National Intelligence to authorize warrantless monitoring of non-U.S. citizens believed to be outside the U.S. borders within limits. Republicans have long criticized FISA for allowing surveillance warrant against former Trump campaign associate Carter Page as a part of the Russia collusion investigation. And last year, Wray called the actions to get a FISA warrant against Page unacceptable. Well, the whole FISA thing just needs to fucking go away because it is illegal, it's unconstitutional, but, you know, who gives a fuck about the Constitution at this point, right? I mean, the government doesn't. They're just going to find a way to either sidestep it by corporate policies or just completely ignore it altogether. And I know that this letter is not going to do a goddamn thing. They wrote a letter. Christopher Wray's going to look at it. He's going to laugh. He's going to throw it away. And we'll be on to the next thing. So, we'll see what goes on with that. All right. And the last one that I have here, which I don't know why we have Star Wars movie props in this, but I guess we'll figure that out later. But from WHIO TV 7, armed man shot and wounded by FBI agent outside CIA headquarters, Bureau confirms. At least one agent with the FBI shot and wounded by an unidentified man outside CIA headquarters in McLean, Virginia, early Monday morning. In a one-paragraph statement, the FBI stated that the person had been involved in a security incident outside the CIA before he emerged from his vehicle with a weapon and was engaged by law enforcement officers, resulting in his wounding at around 6 p.m., the Washington Post reported. Let's listen to the statement. It'll open up a new window to do so, but we'll still listen to the statement.
We're following breaking news of a security incident at CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia. We want to bring in our national security and intelligence correspondent, Ken Delanian. So, Ken, what do we know?
Katie, a Fairfax police spokesman confirms that there is some sort of security incident ongoing at CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia, at the fortified gate off a main road called Route 123. And here's what we've been able to gather from a number of officials. It appears that an intruder approached the guarded gate and tried to seek unauthorized access, and that the CIA may still be negotiating with that person inside their vehicle. Again, this is preliminary. One official told us that no shots were fired, and that the CIA is not in lockdown. No one has breached the perimeter. But this is a particularly sensitive situation, Katie, because all the way back in 1993, a Pakistani national shot and killed 2 CIA officers outside that gate on the main thoroughfare. So they take their security very, very seriously, especially in this time when we had an incident at the Capitol with a person driving into a barrier, and when threats to federal facilities are at a heightened state. So we will keep you apprised as we gather more information about.
All right, that's the initial reporting here. Let's grab just a little bit more of this. The shooting was first reported by NBC. The wounded man was taken to an area hospital after the shooting, the Bureau stated. Samantha Sherrow, a public affairs officer for the FBI's Washington field office, told the New York Times, a former newspaper, in an email that the Bureau takes all shooting incidents involving our agents or task force members seriously. The review process is thorough and objective and is conducted as expeditiously as possible under the circumstances. So we don't have any motive, any details as to why he was out there with a weapon, what the argument was that precipitated this, but it looks like he is at the, he's shot and wounded, so he's still alive. I guess we'll see if something does get released from this or if it's going to just be classified. But that's going to be it for the day. And the last thing that we do is something that I'm thankful for on a Wednesday. And this will also be the last week that we do something that restores my faith in humanity on Monday. And they're going to start getting combined into the two of these here. But, I'm just looking back and, something I'm thankful for. I can't go into too many details. I'm going to talk like Biden, man. I can't go into too many details on what I'm the most thankful for today just because it's family stuff and it's private. So I can't do a lot of that. But, the outpouring of support that, we started to see around the area, I'm not going to cheapen out on this. I look around and I'm thankful for a lot of the opportunity that I've had throughout my life here. I came from a place, if you guys would have known me 7 years ago, my birthday was just this past Friday. You guys know about that. If you guys would have known me 7 years ago, you wouldn't believe that I'd be sitting here today reading the news to 6 to 10 to 15 people a day, with money actually coming back in off of this, with a wonderful co-host who actually holds me to task and makes sure that I do all my homework on all of the news stories that I cover, and executive producing 5 other web shows at the same time. You wouldn't think I've been there. The opportunities that have been afforded to me just with one move, moving in with my cousin back right after I turned 30. It was just a few days after my 30th birthday. I think it was 2 weeks, yeah, because I went half month for May that year. So it was just 2 weeks after my 30th birthday. I moved to a different town with my cousin who was running a campground at the time. I'm not going to say which one, but he was running a campground at the time. And I came into a completely different job market for my skill set. Now, I'd just been hurt at work, so I couldn't go down and do the wrenching anymore, even though I still did a little bit. But going in to then start to do clerical work, working the parts counter instead of working on the vehicles themselves. And, my expenses went way down and my income went way up. At one point I go from making like $10 an hour to 15 to, well, let's just say quite a bit more at this point. And now I'm able to look into what I was doing, the writing that I was doing before, because I started politically writing when I was 27. I'd actually started writing when I was 25, but that was more dating and lifestyle. I started politically writing when I was 27, but every opportunity, it just stemmed from that one move. And now I'm sitting here. I look back at the neighborhood I used to live in Kenosha, and the fact that BLM is still marching through it. I got the great opportunity to come out and make something better out of myself and build something up for myself. So I'm thankful for that. I hope that I can do a lot more to take this further. Even though we're looking at an economic decline at this point, I'm also looking at the fact that I am trying to shore up my bets to make sure that I never have to worry about it again like I did in the last economic decline, because the last economic decline kicked my ever-loving ass. And I'm going to position myself in a way where I don't have to worry about it again. So I'm thankful for that, because I could have been in a lot worse place right now if I had not jumped up and taken the economic opportunity. So I'm thankful for that, and I'm thankful for you guys as well, always. And we'll be back here tomorrow. So let's throw some music up and head on out of here for the day. All right. Well, thank you guys for coming in and hanging out and, keeping me accurate, keeping me honest on all the stuff that I needed to stay accurate on. We will be back here tomorrow with more news. Maybe we'll get some answers from the CIA shooting. Probably not very quickly, but maybe we'll get some of those. Maybe we'll hear some more Caitlin stuff. Maybe we'll get a new date for the Chauvin trial. Who knows? But we'll figure that all out as we go through tomorrow. And hope to see you guys here bright and early for more Contemporary. Until then, I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary.